All right, this is just a video. It's mostly going to be a reminder for you of how to find a polynomial model given a bunch of data. We've hopefully previously already studied linear regressions as well as quadratic regressions. So this again is just going to remind you of the steps in order to find a cubic or a quartic regression. So something that would be an x to the third or an x to the fourth for your largest terms. Right? Now, first thing you need to do in order to take advantage of your calculator to find a linear regression or a cubic or a quartic regression is to type your data into your calculator. So you'll notice the first thing I did was opened up a list and spreadsheet page, and I typed into my TI Nspire calculator a list X and a list Y, given my lists here on the left and on the right. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is open up a data and stats page. And that's where you'll be able to see what the data looks like. And remember, if we click on the bottom, we can use our X list. And if we clicked on the left here, we can make that our Y list. And you'll notice that it looks as though your data sort of starts to rise, then it falls, rises again, falls again. So maybe we can model that with a cubic function, rising here, falling back through our data, and possibly kind of coming through the middle there. Or, remember, the more exponents you have, the higher degree you have, the more curves you can make, so possibly making a W shape. So I'm thinking quartic regression might look pretty good. So the next thing we need to do if we want to find that regression model is just say menu, analyze, and we're going to plot a regression line. And since we want a cubic regression, we're going to pick cubic. And you'll notice, like we said, it's going to swoop through the middle here, approach the top, and come back down. And you've got your model right there. Remember that when the book says to find a model, or the question says find a model, make sure you write down the equation of that model. So I would come back here and write down the equation of my model. Realize that some of the rounding on there got a little out of hand, or can sometimes get out of hand. You might get 13.999 for your constant over here. Remember, you can round that up to 14 if it's reasonably rounding. Now, that doesn't give me much more than just a picture of what I'm looking at. So another way to do this is if you go onto a calculator page, you can also find a menu, stats, stat calculate. So again, let me slow down a little bit there. We're going to go to menu, we're going to go to statistics, we're going to calculate a regression line. So then I can say cubic regression right there. And again, there you just have to tell it what's your input list and what are my output lists. Notice it's going to save it as F3 right now because obviously I've done some other modeling or something somewhere else. So it's going to save it as a function number 3. Just something to keep in mind if later on we wanted to say, okay, given that cubic regression, maybe in future years we want to predict something. So we could go on there and say, okay, in my model, F3, I might want to predict out in year 7 or 8 or 10. So I could plug in 10. And according to my model, there would be my value in year 10. So a fairly helpful thing to do. The other nice part about doing it on a calculator page is that in R squared here gives us a comparison number. So it's always a good number to also write down your R squared in your model, okay? Which I will do in just a second. Then I'm going to go on to the calculator, do the same thing we did before. So if I'm on a calculator page, menu, statistics, stat calculate, we're going to find a quartic, fourth power. Make sure you don't pick quadratic. We're looking for a quartic regression. And again, picking my X list and my Y list. And you'll notice that this time, it's going to save it as F4, so we don't lose our old function. And we get that nice model there. Again, this is a great time to round off. Negative 0.999999 means it's probably -1. This is probably -58. So we can write down all those parts. Notice that R squared was 1. And again, if we wanted to predict something in the future, if they had a question of find, let's say, the better prediction for x equals 10, well, first we'd want to know which model is better. And again, that's where your R squared value comes into play. Which regression seems to be more accurate or closer to the data? And one way you can do that is to figure out what those R squared values would be. The closer you are to 1, the better. So closer to 1 therefore better. Okay? So I'm going to use my quartic model then to find when x equals 10. So f of 10, according to the quartic, right? Quartic model, I can go back to my calculator. Remember that it was saved as f4. Type in 10, and I can predict negative 1,818 for whatever that data was standing for. Hopefully that helps you with quadratic regressions and quartic regressions. If you have any questions, see your teacher. Good luck and have a great day.